Happy Saturday, y'all. We are back at it for episode 2 of Book and Breakfast with BRI. Y'all already know what the deal is. We're going to get some coffee going. I have a really fun episode for you guys today. We are going to bake some of my favorite muffins, and we're also going to talk about some new book releases as well as all the tea on the things that I just finished and are currently reading. Y'all, I got some good stuff to share with you, so grab your coffee, go ahead and settle in, and let's get started. Alright, of course, you guys know I'm going to have everything linked down in the description box below for you guys. This is not my recipe. I did find this on Pinterest several years ago, but it is one of the best. Today we're going to be making cinnamon roll muffins, and yes, they are as decadent and delicious as they sound. So to get started, we're going to go ahead and start mixing our dry ingredients. We have some flour, baking powder, salt, and sugar. I actually ended up having to go back because I was so distracted while filming that I forgot the sugar. But we're going to go ahead and add our dry ingredients and mix those together. And then we will put our wet ingredients together. So before we get there, let's go ahead and start talking about some new book releases. Let's start with things that have already come out. This is one of my most highly anticipated reads for the beginning of the year. The Neighbor Favor has just come out, and I'm super excited to read this. This is a romance between two authors. They have kind of been pen paling and writing back and forth, and when time came for them to meet, Homeboy didn't show up. And so we're meeting our main character at a time where she is getting a new neighbor, and turns out that the new neighbor is actually the pen pal that stood her up. I have not picked this up yet, but it is in my Amazon cart, and I will be getting it. I am really excited to read this. I am black romance all day, and it sounds really, really cute. I love it as a bookish girly to be reading bookish characters. So I'm really excited to check out The Neighbor Favor. And then we're going to go ahead and start mixing up our wet ingredients. Now, I am using the last of this buttermilk because I thought we had more than that, but we didn't. So I finished off with almond milk. Personally, I think it's a lot fluffier and lighter if you used all buttermilk, but use what I had. Some egg. This recipe doesn't call for vanilla, but I add vanilla because I like it. It tastes better. Add vanilla to it. And you're going to add some melted butter in there. You're going to mix all of that together, and then you're going to mix all of your dry ingredients together with your wet ingredients. All right, now moving on to the next release that is already out. We're going to go in with the Gargoyles Captive. You guys know I'm a Katee Roberts stan. This is a Katee Roberts stan account. If she writes it, I'm going to read it. Period. And so the Gargoyles Captive is the, I believe, third book in the Demon's Bargain series. Now, you can go like straight ahead into the series, but it does have some connections to her previous book, which is Court of the Vampire Queen. That is a book that is actually a series of books that is compiled into one book. So obviously that is a vampire romance, and you are introduced to the demon court at the end of that book, and all of these stories are based off of the events of the end of that book. So if you're kind of looking for context, I would suggest reading Court of the Vampire Queen first. So I haven't read any of the Demon's Bargain series, but I do plan to. I have, I think, a couple of the books, the Dragon's Bride, and I think the Demon's Bargain. I have both in my collection. So I'm excited to hop into that and start working on those reads. And then I'm just kind of giving you an idea of what this batter should look like. It should look like a springy dough. It shouldn't be like watery. It should be really sticky and look like almost like bread dough. I promise it's good. I promise. And now we're going to mix up the cinnamon mixture. This is really easy. Just some brown sugar, a few heaping teaspoons of cinnamon, and a few tablespoons of melted butter. And what we're going to do is mix that together. And this is going to be like the ooey gooey filling for our muffins. So we're going to mix all the ingredients together, and then we're going to take half of this cinnamon mixture and fold it into the batter. You're not going to mix it all the way in so they're homogeneous, but you want it to kind of like ribbon throughout the batter. All right, so let's talk about some more upcoming reads. This coming week, I am so excited. I'm really excited for a read that's getting ready to come out. It's called Too Soon for Adios. This is coming out on the 21st, and this is a story of love, loss, grief, and possibility. Our main character is introduced to us at her mother's funeral, where she is reunited with her father who abandoned her when she was a child. He wants to take this as an opportunity to come back into her life and offers her a house. And because of her financial situation, she decides to take the offer, but it is contingent upon her being able to sell the house and leave when she's ready. And also the understanding that she is not accepting him, she is accepting the house. But as she moves into this house and gets to know the town, she falls in love with the town, and she also ends up finding a little love of her own. So I'm really excited to get into this. It sounds like kind of like a heartwarming story, a little bit of love, a little bit of loss, and I'm really excited to get into it. So we're going to go ahead and prep our pan. I've already preheated my oven to 375. We're going to grease our pan, and then we're going to go ahead and add the mixture. Now, it probably looks like, Brie, you're not putting much in there. That's because this is going to puff up. There's like a tablespoon of baking powder in this. So this is going to puff up a lot. And usually when I bake this, the filling kind of runs over the sides. So we're going to add the batter to the baking tins, and then to top it off, we're going to use the remainder of the cinnamon mixture, and we're going to add a little spoonful of that on top of each of the muffins. So moving on from that, y'all, I'm so ready for this. I can't believe it's finally coming. So you guys know I am in love with the Salacious Players Club series by Sara Cate. If you are not familiar, this is a taboo romance series that follows 4 owners of a sex club. Yeah, I know. It's amazing. The first book in the series is Praise, which congratulations to Sara Cate, just got greenlit for film. That is my favorite, and this is getting published by, I believe, Bloom Books. And we're also getting 2 more books within the series, and the 5th book is coming out on the 24th, which is The Highest Bidder. Now, The Highest Bidder and Madam, which is coming out, I believe, in August, are the first 2 books in the series that don't directly follow the owners of the club. So The Highest Bidder is about one of the club's frequent flyers. His name is Ronan, and we do actually meet Ronan in Praise. If you've read Praise, we meet Ronan during an auction, and he attempts to bid for Charlie. And he is the highest bidder. Ronan is loaded. He is a much older man, a much good-looking, much older man. And he bids on one of the girls in the club. And their story sounds like it's going to be very interesting. It sounds like he falls hard and he falls fast, but there's a lot about this young woman that he does not know. And even though she's falling for him, she has some secrets that may turn their relationship pretty rocky. So I'm excited to read it. Sara Cate does age gap very, very well. So I already know this is going to be everything. I'm ready. It releases on Kindle on the 24th, but I have the feeling it'll take a few days for the paperback to come out. All right, so we're in the oven, and now we're out of the oven, and now y'all see what I mean, right? A lot of the cinnamon mixture kind of bubbles over a little bit, but that's okay. It happens. They should look like this. They puff up a lot. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and remove these from the tin. And I'm going to let these cool. Oops, I lost one. I'm going to let these cool on a wire rack for a few minutes before I put their topping on. And so the last couple of books that I have my eye on are both coming out at the top of April. The first is Blood Debts. This is YA fantasy, magical realism. I'm really excited to get into it. It's been kind of raved and talked about for a while. I already have the book on pre-order, so I'm really hype about that. But the book I'm the most hype about is Black Girls Must Have It All. This is the final book in the Black Girls Must Die Exhausted series. I fell in love with this back in like 2021 with the first book, Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. And so this series follows our main character, Tabitha, and she is, she is the struggling millennial Black woman. She is working in the news industry and she wants it all. She wants to have a kid, she wants to have the career, she wants to have the relationship, and she gets all those things, but she doesn't get them the way that she plans. And so in the final book, we are getting to see Tabitha come into her own as a mother. And we get to see how her relationships finally blossom and also see her take on new job opportunities. Y'all, I am so excited. It took like a year for this book to come out. So both my mom and I have been waiting patiently. I got my mom on the series right before the book was re-released and published. So the book that's coming out now, it is under a different publisher from the originals, but I promise y'all, I'm ready. I'm ready. If you love the Black Girls Must Die Exhausted series, you got to tell me if you're excited. All right, so this is what the girls are looking like. We're gonna go ahead and make a topping for her. The original recipe just calls for a very simple milk-based icing. I personally like to turn mine into a cream cheese icing. So you're going to just take some powdered sugar, a couple tablespoons of a milk of your choice. I had heavy cream in my kitchen, so that's what I used. It works just as well. And then I add like a little bit of cream cheese. I would say this is about 3 to 4 tablespoons of cream cheese. I don't want this too thick. I want it just right. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of vanilla and we're going to whip this up. I'm sorry if the camera was really shaky during this cooking session. I don't know why it wasn't shaky the last time and I was moving around just as much, but hey, this is what it do. So I am not a fan of the icing drizzle. I want to taste the icing on my cupcake. If I'm going to go balls to the wall with a cinnamon roll cupcake, I'm going to go balls to the wall. So I don't just drizzle this over. I give it a nice little dollop of cream cheese, make it cute, all that good stuff. All right, and last but not least, I am really excited for this release because it is from one of my mutuals on TikTok. This is The Build Up by Tati Richardson. It is coming out on the 28th of this month, and this is Tati's debut romance novel. I'm so excited for her, and I'm really excited for this book. This follows our main female character, who is an architect. She is starting at a new firm. And aside from all of the jitters of the first work day, she has an encounter with a fine ass man that is a little bit embarrassing. And of course, after this encounter, she finds out that this is the man that she's going to be working on her project with. And he himself has been at the firm. He's trying to up his game. He has some serious career goals, and so many things have been standing in his way. And now, this fine ass woman that he has to work on this project with is also a very enjoyable complication when it comes to his goals. I'm really excited about this. It's giving workplace romance, forced proximity. I'm really excited to get into this, and I am really excited for my girl Tati Richardson. So shout out to you. I think this is going to be fabulous. I already have it pre-ordered. Hopefully, Amazon will do me right and I'll get it on time. But yeah, that is The Build Up by Tati Richardson. Y'all let me know if you plan on picking up any of these titles. I'm really excited. I think I'm the most excited for The Build Up. Of course, the highest bidder. I have been ready for this book. And Black Girls Must Have It All. I'm interested in seeing if there are any other new releases that you guys are just ready and waiting for. I'm going to sit down and eat my breakfast, and then we're going to go ahead and get into some more books. Okay, guys, so that is it for our breakfast portion. I hope you guys actually try this recipe because it's so good. My family has officially dubbed these crack muffins, and they're the best. Like, look at that center. Yeah, amazing. I will have the recipe linked down in the description along with the modifications that I personally made to the recipe. They're not many. This is really quick, really easy for you guys to make. So all of that will be in the description down below. And let's get into some more bookish thoughts. So now that we've sat and talked about all of the awesome, exciting new releases that are coming, y'all, my Amazon pre-order list is crazy. I'm gonna have so many packages showing up next week. It seems like everything's coming out on the same day, right? Make sure you let me know down in the comments if there are any books coming out soon that you guys are really excited for. Let's go ahead and talk about the books that I'm currently reading and how I'm doing with my monthly TBR. So far, I think I'm doing good. You guys know I usually deviate from my TBR. Like, I think most people do. I deviate from my TBR. Let's talk about what I'm currently reading. So on audiobook, I just started The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, and it's the first book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. I've heard so much about this series, and I can't lie, I wasn't initially super duper interested in it, but I've been reading more billionaire romances, and I'm like, okay, well, let me give this a try because it's so popular. So I started working on that while I was upstairs doing my makeup. Can we talk about the beat, by the way? Snatched. It's a vibe. It's a look. So I started that on audiobook, and so far I like it, even though I'm pretty sure I'm probably not going to like the main male character. The Dreamland Billionaire series is kind of like, think about romance at Disneyland, although it's not Disneyland, but it's surrounding a theme park. When you're introduced to the main character, Rowan, it's at his grandfather's funeral, and following his grandfather's funeral, he leaves letters for each of his 3 grandsons, Rowan being the youngest, and each of those letters has a certain stipulation that they have to follow, some task that they have to complete before they can gain their titles and get their 18% stake within the Dreamland company. And so Rowan's is going back into Dreamland and kind of building up what they've already started. So he's tasked with coming up with a project and taking over a certain role within the company. And his first day there, kind of scouting and getting to meet people, he is in a forced encounter with our main female character, Sara. And she's kind of a hot mess. She comes into a meeting late. It's very obvious that she always does this. And she's very open about her feelings about the company and the way they treat their employees and the way that they pay them. And Rowan is giving 2T asshole right now. Like 2T capitalist asshole. So it's going to be more of like a workplace billionaire romance. And it's looking like there's a competition that's going to be open for these ideas, and I have the feeling that Sara is going to end up being the best one, and they're going to be forced to work together. So billionaire romance, workplace romance, forced proximity. It's giving very much he hates everyone but her. It's giving very much Grumpy Sunshine. So I'm curious to see if I like it. I pulled it up on audio through the Libby app. Because I wasn't sure if I wanted to put the books in my collection, but I wanted to start reading them since the final book in the series, The Final Offer, just came out, I think last month. So in addition to that, I am also working on 2 from my TBR. I literally have one little bit left of The Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan, and I have just been in complete and utter in love with this book, and I'm definitely going to be picking up hard copies of this and The Heart of the Sun Warrior. As soon as I finish this, I'm going to start Heart of the Sun Warrior. This story ended up being far more charming than I expected it to be, and there were elements in this book that I did not see coming. It is YA fantasy, and it reads young, but it's not... I don't want to say juvenile because I think people who criticize YA for being young are
kind of dumb. I don't want to be mean, but I'm just saying, like, you picked up a YA book and you didn't expect the kids in the book to act like kids. I think you need to analyze that. But it is very much within the time, it's very time period-esque and cultural-esque. So the youthful feeling that you get isn't like the youthful feeling of today. It's not Gen Z. It's very much from another place in time, if that makes sense. In this book, you're following your main female character, Jayne, and this is based off of the tale of the moon goddess. I think it's Chang'e. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that name right. I've been trying to practice the pronunciations, but I don't think I got them right. Chang'e. And when you meet her, you discover that no one is actually aware of her existence. And so she's living on the moon with her mother, and she's lived a very sheltered, peaceful life until the emperor and empress of the celestial kingdom come to visit. She is starting to tap into her power. She's starting to feel her powers growing as an immortal being. And this kind of sparks signals into the celestial atmosphere. They come to see what's up, and she finds out that she's not actually supposed to be here. And she finds out that her mother was not supposed to be an immortal. She is the daughter of the moon goddess and the sun warrior. And when the sun warrior had completed his deeds for mortals, he was gifted the elixir of life, basically. But her mother was pregnant with her, and was suffering it essentially seemed to be a miscarriage. And she ended up taking the elixir of life and ascended into an immortal. And because of that, she was trapped to an eternity on the moon, and she'll never be able to reunite with her love. And of course, they don't know that Jayne exists. So when we're introduced to her, she's fleeing her home, and everything that she knows and understands is ripped away from her. She ends up crashing into the celestial kingdom, taking the place as a servant, and is offered the opportunity to study underneath the celestial prince. She goes for this opportunity, she wins the opportunity, and this goes into a full-on journey of her being able to study and learn how to fight for herself. She ends up becoming one of the most prized warriors of the kingdom and a hero to the celestial kingdom. And of course, she ends up falling for the prince, which, you know, is not good vibes, because we know who her parents are, and they don't like her mama. But everything that she is doing is not just to gain her own strength, but to be able to get back to her mother and win her mother's freedom. At the point in the book where I am now, we have a very hardcore love triangle. There's a love triangle in this book, but it's a very well done love triangle. I enjoy every single character that I've encountered in this book. They are complex, they are layered. The world is very whimsical. The cultural elements and themes in this are just absolutely beautiful. I'm in love with this book. I'm going to be buying this and the sequel. It is a duology. Just so good. And then you guys saw at the beginning of the video that I am also working on Radiant Sin by Katee Robert. We discussed this in the last book and breakfast, and so far I'm really enjoying it. Now, a lot of my bookish friends on TikTok said that this one actually wasn't their favorite, and I'm feeling like I can kind of get why. I feel like this book is going to be more of not necessarily a filler chapter, but I feel like it's going to kind of be a bridge to the next book. So this is directly following the events of Wicked Beauty, which was the story of Helen, Achilles, and Patroclus. And in that story, you have the three of them fighting to win the title of Ares. Throughout this journey of them going through this tournament to try to win this title, some new characters inside of Olympus are introduced. And so you have these new characters coming in, Theseus, the Minotaur, and Minos. And they are not from Olympus. Nobody knows where they came from, don't know what they do in there, but these people are menaces to society, okay? And so their ingratiation into the society of Olympus starts to really fold into this book. So Radiant Sin is Cassandra and Apollo is kind of like the spy master of their world, and so he is charged with collecting intel. Like I mentioned before, the god titles in this book, it's not magic, it is a literal title. So the things that the gods are known for within Greek mythology are what their duties are within Olympus in this book. And so when we're introduced, we know that the borders of Olympus are failing, and we know that they are being infiltrated by these people who definitely seem to have a lot of power, and they have to have a lot of money because somebody has bankrolled their entrance into Olympus. And so Cassandra has been working for Apollo as his executive assistant for several years. She is an outcast within society. Her parents previously had attempted a coup, and the 13 took her parents out. She and her sister are pretty much disgraced within the society of Olympus. And so with all of the things that are unfolding, Apollo has to go undercover and play nice with these people. And he asks Cassandra to go with him and basically pretend to be his girlfriend so they can try to get some information. Because right now they don't know what's going on. And Apollo is not a fan of not knowing the tea, okay? But on top of the fake dating, they have both been slightly infatuated with each other for the 5 years that they have both been working with each other. Cassandra has no interest in openly dating anyone that is a part of the 13 because she knows the implications, she knows what people will say, and in the end, she does want to get herself and her sister out of Olympus. So she agrees to do this on the condition that Zeus gives her $1.4 million to let her and her sister bounce up out of there. But I don't think that's going to happen because I have the feeling that their little feelings are going to come to a head while Apollo and Cassandra are fake dating. Because does fake dating ever stay fake? No, it doesn't. So far, I'm enjoying this. I tend to enjoy Katee Roberts' writing style. Her books are quick, very easy to finish. They're just light reads. Even though there are some like moderate stakes within these books, and the stakes are getting a little bit higher as the series goes along. I mean, it's just a good smutty ride. This is going to be more of a slow burn. I already knew that going into it, but I'm excited to get through the rest of it. So far, I really like Apollo, and I do really like Cassandra, even though I understand why a lot of people don't like her, but I get her. I feel her. I see her. So that's Radiant Sin by Katee Robert. You guys know if you've read this, let me know what you think. I still don't see this beating Electric Idol for me. I think Electric Idol is still going to stand as my favorite in the Dark Olympus series. But I really like this one so far. All right. Let's talk about the book that I finished last night, y'all, because I feel like I'm giving y'all the tea. Because have y'all ever read a book and you were just sitting there like, what the hell did I just read? That is how I have felt since I finished this audiobook last night. So last night I finished listening to the audiobook of Mr. Spencer by T.L. Swan. If you're not familiar with the title, this is the second book in the Mr. series by T.L. Swan. The Mr. series is a rich man's romance, essentially a trilogy, and it follows the love lives of 3 male friends. So I actually started this series out of order. I read the last one first because it was suggested to me, and at the time I didn't realize it was a series. So the first one that I read was Mr. Garcia, which is the 3rd book in the series. And that one follows Sebastian Garcia, and that is a time. The first book in the series is Mr. Masters, which follows their friend Julian Masters. He's a judge. He is a widower, and he hires a nanny to come help him with his children, and he ends up falling for his crazy, boisterous, loud, obnoxious nanny. It's a good time. Now, typically, I do not end up liking the men in these stories, but I feel like these books are like a car crash that you can't look away from. Like, you know it's Hot Mess Express, but you got to find out how it ends. And Mr. Spencer was the same for me for so many different reasons. I really struggled with Sebastian and Mr. Garcia because Sebastian just was incapable of saying I'm sorry, and he would say some of the most outlandish, like, meanest things to his girlfriend, but like wouldn't really say I'm sorry, right? And she kind of just accepted it. I felt like she was a really kind of a badass FMC because she had her shit under control. And kind of the same with Julian, although he was a much nicer character. He had a hard exterior. And don't get me wrong, both of those men had good reasons for not being very nice people. But I'm like, is T.L. Swan incapable of writing a man that can just say, I'm sorry? So then we get Mr. Spencer, and I'm excited because I like Spencer. He is definitely a womanizer. He's a player, but he was always the comedic relief in book 1 and book 3. So I was excited to read about him. In Mr. Spencer, it steps in right where it ends at the end of Mr. Masters. So they are at a wedding, and Spencer catches the eye of the lady Charlotte. And she catches his eye, he catches her eye. They're kind of immediately infatuated with each other. Charlotte wants to know, who is that fine ass man over there? And her friends are like, don't do it, girl. Like, he don't wife them. Like, he don't save her. She don't want to be saved, kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But she is just immediately intrigued with him. And Spencer tells his friends, I gotta have that girl. I promise you, I'm going to get that girl. Spencer is an entire puppy dog, y'all. He is the epitome of a player, but he saw the opportunity that was Charlotte, and he said he was not going to waste it. Now, don't get me wrong, the man made a whole lot of mistakes along the way. He's a little stupid. He's a man. But I feel like he was definitely the most romantically and emotionally inclined of the 3 misters of the series. The thing was, there is a level of childishness that both Spencer and Charlotte have, and I didn't think it was possible for the author to write a character that was even more immature than Spencer, but they managed to do it. Charlotte is an heiress to billions. Her father is a billionaire. She is a billionaire. And her father and her brother are pretty awful. They have basically quartered her off from society. She has been a very kept woman. She hasn't been allowed to date. She has very few friends. She can't go anywhere without tons of security. And so her, as a 24-year-old woman, her growth as far as emotional intelligence is very much lacking. She is very inexperienced, not because she's a child, but because she has basically been locked away in her house for her whole life. And there were so many times where I was just sitting there and I had to remind myself, she may be grown, but she has the emotional intelligence of a peanut. She's put together and she has the look, and she has that whole facade, but she's not the it girl that she looks like, And there were so many times where I was like, if I was Spencer, I would just walk away. And by the end of the book, I was just like, if he doesn't take her back, I'm okay with that. By the time we got to the 3rd act breakup, there were so many things that happened from the 3rd act breakup to the very end of the book that I was just like, what the hell am I what is why are we doing this? And I kind of feel like, because there was so little drama throughout the book, I feel like T.L. Swan didn't know when to stop writing. It's kind of how I feel about it. She does really well with a lot of drama, a lot of action, but when it comes to just writing something that is lovey-dovey and complex, it's not that she can't do it, it's just she doesn't know when to stop. I don't need 15 pages of why me? How could he do this to me? Blah, blah, blah. I don't need that. We don't need that. We know that her feelings are hurt. Okay? We don't need to do the rest of this. So I felt like the book was just kind of long-winded, and the things that almost were so close to making this book like a 4-star read for me, it it all kind of got pushed to the side by so many of these encounters. It just kind of didn't make sense, didn't really fit. You didn't know why we were doing it and why we were here. And so I don't even feel like I can give this book an accurate rating. Like, if you had to ask me what I would rate it, I mean, I guess maybe a 3-star, because, I mean, adequate, but truthfully, I kind of feel like it's a question mark. There was a lot of spice, but I found the spice to be very repetitive because there were so little other things happening within the book. And there were a lot of just little things in the book that were just really, really repetitive in comparison to what you got with Mr. Masters and Mr. Garcia. So as far as my favorite character within the Mr. series, Spencer is my favorite. He's definitely like the perfect golden retriever guy who's down for his woman. But as far as the book itself, it was just weird. Would I read it again if I was bored? Yes. But will I ever know how I really feel about it? No. Now I'm getting into like my monster romance era situation. I talked to you guys about Sweet Vengeance in the last Book and Breakfast. And when I ordered that one, I also ordered this one. And that is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. And this is book 1 in the Mead Mishap series. So I wanted to go ahead and start this series because I found out that she was going to be getting published and her covers are going to be gone. And so sometimes I don't even really care about that. But the fact that, like, can we talk about how beautiful this cover is? The author drew that. The author made this cover. I have to have these covers. So I have the other 2. There's a novella and then there's a second book in this series on the way because I want those covers. I think she said the last day for you to get those covers is the 20th of this month. So if this looks like something you want and you know you want these original covers, go ahead and get it. But just do know that the third book that is going to be coming out soon is not going to have her covers on it, even though I think she said she will be doing like giveaways and like limited edition stuff, and you will be able to get those covers when she does those. So again, this is the Mead Mishap series. Book 1 is about Cinnamon and Fallon. If I had to describe this, I would say that this is cozy rom-com fantasy with some smut thrown in there, like a sprinkle of smut. And so the title is literally what this is. When we meet our main character, Cinnamon, she is at a celebration. The chosen ones have been picked to go off on their journey to help their goddess keep the demons out of their realm. And Cinnamon is lit because the girl that got picked was annoying. She about to go on her quest. She ain't got to see her no more. And Cinnamon is not the adventure type. She wants to sit up in her house and drink and take care of her little cinnamon fields and live her best life. Cinnamon goes home. There's a big old boom in the atmosphere. She goes to see what's happening, realizes that somebody is stuck up under this, this little rock slide. She gets them out and finds a fine-ass man. But the fine-ass man ends up being a demon. He chases her home. She hits him in the face with a cinnamon stick, runs into her house and hides until the next morning when he pops up at breakfast looking like a whole snack and telling her, well, guess what? Everything you know is wrong. Everything you know about your goddess is wrong. She's a lie. She ain't even really a goddess. And the whole reason why demons are dangerous is because she made us dangerous so you guys can justify killing us. And your cinnamon is the antidote to my psychosis. And I would like you to come on me on a journey to defeat this goddess. And in the end, she does. And of course, throughout the journey, she falls for the demon. This was so freaking cute. Even though there are so many aspects of the story that are very high stakes, it doesn't feel high stakes at all. This is cozy. I literally laughed throughout this entire book. It is a fun read. If you want something that is the perfect bit of fantasy, romance, without anything super duper hardcore, you just want to have a good time, you just want to laugh, a quick read, I highly suggest this. And it does get steamy, it gets spicy, because Fallon, our demon Fallon over here, Fallon know what to do, okay? And Fallon loves him some cinnamon. That's all I'm gonna say. But throughout this book, you're also introduced to such a charming cast of characters, and I'm really excited to meet some of the other demons in this book, because you met so many hilarious characters as they were going on their journey and releasing these demons that were being held captive, and were under this witch's curse. They were all just the most like teddy bear, like adorable cast of characters, which is just so not what you expect from a literal group of demons. So this was really good. I really enjoy Kimberly Lemming's writing style. She hooks you from page one, but everything is just cute and fun and just an enjoyable ride. So if you're interested in something like that with a little bit of smut, I highly suggest. I cannot wait to crack open the next 2 books. All right, y'all. We had some fun. I had to throw some fun reads in there because I said I was going to read Longshot. I knew my heart was going to be broken. I read the trigger warnings. I heeded all the warnings from my friends. And I was a sobbing mess for a solid 24 hours while reading this story. Longshot by Kennedy Ryan is everything that Colleen Hoover wishes that It Ends With Us could be. Longshot is the first book within the Hoop series, which is a sports romance series. And our first main characters within this series are Iris and August. When we first meet these two, it's very much Grey's Anatomy. I met a girl at a bar, you know? Iris is watching the Lakers game at a bar, and August tips into this bar just to blow off some steam before the night of the NCAA championship. This is a big night for him. His father was previously in the NBA and had passed away in a car accident when he was a child. So he is having one of the biggest nights of his life on his dad's birthday, and he is just having a really hard time coping. And so he walks into this bar and he sees this gorgeous, hazel-eyed, curly-haired, foul-mouthed woman at the bar. And he's like, I gotta have me a piece of that. And they just instantly connect. They have what seems to be like a soul-deep connection. But by the end of the night, he asks her for a kiss, and he finds out that she has a boyfriend. And when he goes to the game, he goes to the championship game and finds out that she is actually the girlfriend of his rival and pretty much arch nemesis, Caleb. Caleb is not a good guy. And I think the thing I appreciate about Kennedy Ryan is that she does not try to romanticize Caleb. I think that was one of my biggest pet peeves with It Ends With Us, because they romanticize the hell out of Ryle, even though there are so many red flags with Ryle. But I feel like Colleen Hoover tried to make Ryle still out to be this kind of romantic, dreamy guy. We know that Caleb is the golden boy. He is a good-looking, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white man. He got a nice body. He has money. He has the career. Who wouldn't want him? But we already see that he is a glaring red flag. At the beginning of the book, you're already seeing how he is slightly controlling Iris. And there are so many different actions throughout the beginning of this story where you're like, I see why she doesn't see, but I wish she could see, you know? And that kind of is the reality when you're in a relationship, when you're in an abusive relationship. It's easy for everybody else to see it but you. And eventually she ends up being tied to him through having a child with him. And that is when things really do start to get bad, especially once he notices that August is very much attracted to her and she is very much attracted to him. There is a lot of romance in this story, but do not go into this book expecting it to just be romance. The first half of this book is incredibly traumatic, and if you cannot handle heavy domestic violence in your literature, do not read this. Do not pick this up. I've read a lot, y'all. I have very few triggers, and this book had me in tears. Had me literally sobbing. The things that Caleb did to Iris in this book are probably like borderline demonic, honestly. The way Kennedy Ryan captures these characters. They are so complex. They are so spot on. And the whole book, my heart just continued to break for Iris. And in a lot of ways for August too, because even though he doesn't really know her, throughout the first half of the book, they only see each other 4 times. And they're not in super close proximity to each other. But every time she sees him, he's kind of like a lifeline. And you see how much he cares for her and how much hope he's holding out that there will be a chance that she will leave him and that he will have the chance to be everything that she needs. But he has no idea that any of the things that are happening to Iris are happening. And eventually they do get their shot at love. This does have an HEA. If you're wondering, it does have an HEA, but you are going to get ripped apart and sewn back together before you get that HEA. This was one of the most difficult reads I have ever had, but I finished it in a day because I had to know what happened. So again, heed my warning. If you know you cannot handle that, do not read this book. But if you can handle that, this is probably one of the most beautiful stories I have ever read. I told my mom after I finished it, I said, it was a difficult read, but it's one of those reads where you finish it and you feel like you need to flip back to page 1 and start over. Because there's so many things that I know when I read it again, I'm going to be like, damn, I missed that. Damn, I missed that. Like, there's so much. It is so beautifully done. Kennedy Ryan is a page 1 author for me because Before I Let Go and then Long Shot, both of those books from page 1, I knew that I was sucked in. There is just something about Kennedy's writing that just speaks to my soul. And I've already ordered Hookshot and Blockshot because I have to know about the rest of the characters in this story. I believe Hookshot is a Hookshot? I think so. Hookshot is about August's brother, Jared, who you do meet in this story. And then Blockshot is about Iris's cousin, Lotus, and August's teammate, Keenan, who you meet in this story as well. So I'm excited to read those. From what I've been told, they're not nearly as traumatic as this one was, but it was still worth the read. I feel like this was a read that was kind of transformative for me, and I can't say that about a lot of the books that I read. Y'all know I read a lot of books in a year. This is one that has been truly transformative for me. So Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan, that's 10 out of 5 stars. And then last but not least, I finally finished The Loser's Duology. We talked about this in the last one, and y'all, I love these people. I love these little white people. Them. They might be some of my favorite little fictional white people. If you do not remember the whole synopsis of The Loser's Duology, this is a duology that does have a novella prequel, which is The Dare. And the duology itself follows all of the characters that you met in The Dare. And so in part 2 of The Loser's Duology, this is really where they are expressing their affections for each other. So you have Jess, Manson, Lucas, Vincent, and Jason. And this is basically like an MMFMM polyam why choose situation. They all doing it together. All of them. They doing it together on the side. All of that. They doing all of that. At the end of the first part of the book, we are kind of coming to terms with some of the more sinister things that are happening in their lives. Manson's dad has come back into town, and he is basically trying to take his son out so he can take his house and cash in on his life insurance. So we're kind of coming to a head with that. But then also all of them having this realization that even though what they have with Jess started off as her paying off debt for them to fix her car, they don't want this woman to leave. They know that she's supposed to leave and move to New York, but they don't want her to go. And when you're going throughout the rest of the duology, you are seeing each one of them come to terms with their love for Jess. There are a lot of apologies to be had for things that happened with all of them in the past, because in their past, they were the losers of the school and Jess was the high school bully. So they have a lot to come to terms with within their own personal relationships, the things that they have done to her in the past and the things that she has done to them in the past. And I love how you get to see each of the guys in their own element with Jess and see how each of them have their own very personal, unique relationships with one another. It's just so well done. I feel like Harley LaRue handles polyam very well, but also just anything kink she does well. Now, I will be honest, there is one part at the end of this book, not the epilogue, but close to the end of this book, that I realize is like a limit for me. I don't really want to read about that. But it was just like, it was like 2 pages and it was done. So that didn't really remove a star rating for me. Overall, I enjoyed this. If you do not like filthy smut, if you are not that girl, don't read this. This will hurt your eyes, okay? I highly suggest before you dive into these books, read the list of kinks and read the list of trigger warnings. Because if you go into this blind, you might find some things that you don't like, okay? But if you cool with that, you'll be cool with this. I feel like this was so much more than just smut. The smut fueled the plot, but there was also so much other plot going along too. The emotions and the friendships and the love between all of these characters was just, it was just really, really good. Harley LaRue does it for me. I know that they have another series. I don't know the full name of the series. I think it's listed in the back that I wanted to check out because I've heard people talk about it. It's the Souls trilogy, which is paranormal romance, and the first book is Her Soul to Take, and the second is Her Soul for Revenge. So I feel like I'm gonna go ahead and pick up Her Soul to Take because I have been dipping my toes more so into paranormal and like monster romance and stuff like that. The way that this book was written was so well done, and it covers so many things. The consent and the trust between these characters was everything. So I'm really excited to read more from Harley LaRue. This is about as crazy and kinky as you can get when it comes to reading, but it is very, very good. All right, so those are the things that I have finished off. I still have quite a few things to work on for my TBR. I have the feeling that I'm probably going to finish Radiant Sin before the weekend is over. And of course, Daughter of the Moon Goddess, I know I'm going to finish that today. I think I'm going to go ahead and work on Twisted Lies and Beloved. And I think I'm probably going to also start Bloodlight Magic as well. And then I have a couple of other book club books that I'm working on as well. I'm reading Aphrodite and the Duke by J.J. McAvoy, and I'm reading that for my Black AF book club on TikTok. A lot of my mutuals on TikTok are leaders of that book club book, and I just went ahead and joined. I wanted to try to get into a couple of book clubs before I start trying to do my own thing on here. Aphrodite and the Duke is very much Bridgerton. Your main character, Aphrodite, is coming back into London after kind of being estranged from the scene for 4 years. When she was first brought into society, she had expected that her best friend and kind of childhood lover was going to be the man to call on her to marry him. And after the promises that he had made to her, he basically ditched her and made her the laughingstock of the entire town. So she's coming back in, and her mom makes it clear, you are getting married this season. So this is their love story, their ability to find each other. And you discover that Evander, the main male character in this story, has so much more going on when it comes to his estate. And he never lost any love for Aphrodite, but he was trying to deal with a lot of things that were going on within the family. I'm really enjoying it so far, even though there are some POVs added to the book that I don't really care to hear from. Like, I want to hear more from Evander than I do from Aphrodite's brother. But overall, the book is really, really good, and I'm enjoying it. It's been a quick read. I'm about halfway through that. And then I also have behind the scenes from, is it A.H. Cunningham? I gotta look. I'll put the author right here, but I'm reading that for another book club as well. I have that coming in through Amazon currently. So those are the 2 book club reads I'm reading. I had asked you guys about the possibility of doing a book club situation here, and so many of you guys said you would be interested. So I think what we're gonna do is June is when we're going to start going into that. That will give us time to give a feel for what we all enjoy reading. That'll give me some time to look at things that are more so upcoming reads, kind of make lists, and give you guys the opportunity to pick what the book club book is going to be. So I will be giving you guys more tentative information for that. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed sitting down, baking with me, and talking about books. I'll have all the books that I mentioned in this video listed below, the ones that I'm reading, and then I will also have a list of all of my mentions for upcoming releases as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Book and Breakfast with Bree. It was a joy for me. You guys let me know what you're reading, what you're drinking, and also let me know if you're gonna try out this recipe in the comments down below. I will see you guys. If you're here for the rest of my content, I will see you guys on Monday. And if you're just here for bookish content, I will see you guys again in the middle of the week. I love y'all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.